Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all. Thank you all very much for being here on this special Tuesday late night edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name's Keaton Weiss, here with Russell Dobular.
Hello.
Thank you guys all very much for accommodating this Tuesday evening time slot. We are, of course, here on Tuesday night because tomorrow we will be once again hosting the Jimmy Dore show. Russell will be in the host's seat. I'll be co-hosting remotely. So we are here on Tuesday. We were supposed to start at 8 o'clock, but thank you guys for putting up with us. We're starting an hour late. It took a long time. There was a lot of traffic getting out of our tunnels to get here. A lot of people trying to get through those tunnels real quick. It just got backed up. Usually it only takes 20 minutes to get out of one of those things. But, with the news being what it was, there's police, there's all this other stuff to deal with. It took us a couple hours to get out of there. And then I had to wash my hair off because, you don't want to come right out of a tunnel onto the air.
Well, no. If you remember at the last meeting of the Zion occupational government,
right,
I said, the Hasidics, if they keep building these tunnels, they're gonna blow the whole thing. Eventually someone's gonna find one of these tunnels, and that's it. They're gonna give up the game, and here we are now.
Here we are.
I said nobody at the meeting listened to me. Shmuley wouldn't. He's yelling at me.
No, forget it. That guy's impossible.
That guy, you can't.
He's just like he is off camera. He's the same guy off camera that he is on camera.
He's the same guy.
Yeah, with that guy is a real mashugana, as they say. But no, the actual reason why we are at 9 tonight and not 8 is because it occurred to us that our friend Sabby Sabs does a Tuesday night show, and we didn't want to step on her time slot because we were kind of going out of our regular time slot. So we figure if Stabby starts at 7, her show usually goes 2 hours, which means she'll be probably wrapping around the time when we start. So, we don't want to step on her audience. We thought that wouldn't be the right thing to do. So we're happy to be here a little later than usual. $6.99 in the YouTube chat. Russell, what does that mean?
You didn't kill the loop.
No. All
right, I just killed the loop. A little more maiden never hurts.
Yeah, there we go. All righty. Jake is in the booth tonight with us. Jake says 351 strong in the Rumble chat. So thank you guys all very much for being here. 738 filing in here on YouTube. We want to thank everybody for being here this evening, and thank you all who tuned in to Russell's premiere hosting gig on the Jimmy Dore show last night. Congratulations to Russell. I thought it went great. I thought we had our mojo working. Thought it was a good variety of segments. I thought we worked well. I was happy with how it went. I hope everybody else was happy with how it went. For those of you who caught it live, for those of you who didn't, the clips are coming out pretty quick now, so you'll be able to catch all those sooner than later.
I got really a lot of support and a lot of training time. So by the time I got there, we were talking about this earlier. It took me a long time to learn how to do this. You really just gotta let it go. Like, you can't worry, you can't get stressed. Like, you just have to remember, people like what you do. That's why you're doing it here. So just do that. Don't fuck with it. Don't try to change anything. And so many of our people came to represent. Like, the super chats were like, "Oh yeah, that's one of ours. That's one of ours."
That's one of ours. Yeah. No, you guys were great. Thank you guys all for coming. Kurt was great.
Kurt,
very, very
Kurt has
supportive.
been great. Jimmy and Steph have really, really been nice. Misha. Malcolm, who is kind of invisible, but he does a lot of the exhibits and stuff. Just the whole team has been amazing.
Yep. Andrew on the board last night, right? Andrew on the soundboard.
No.
Was his name
that's
Andrew?
That's not his name. There's like a much younger kid whose name is Andrew. That guy. He just kind of came in and like worked the levers, and then he was gone. That's why I don't remember his name.
All right. But, the whole crew. Thanks to the whole crew.
The whole crew has been very generous and welcoming and just incredibly nice.
Yeah. No,
I don't know why they think they could just like leave me at their house by myself without anything getting stolen. But wow, did they miss that bet? Because there is some shit going home with me.
A new singing bowl. Daddy needs a new singing bowl.
How many sets of silverware you need? I mean, I'm taking one.
How many sets of silverware do you need?
I'm living with this dollar store shit. Fuck that, man.
Alrighty.
Nice set of steak knives out of this.
There you go. Well, we got some super chats coming in. Jake is in the booth fielding Rumble rants, so please send them if you got them. We are starting late, so we want to move this show along at a decent pace this evening, but thank you guys all for staying up with us. We will get started, folks. The Iowa caucuses are right around the corner on the Republican side, and even though the Democrats are officially starting the DNC primaries in South Carolina, the state of New Hampshire insists that according to its own state laws, it must go first. And so New Hampshire is going ahead with their primary on January 23rd. That is 2 weeks from today. And so when I go to New Hampshire the weekend before Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I will be covering both Republican primaries and Democratic primaries, even though the delegates will not count at the convention. The fact that this is just a bragging rights scrimmage, though, did not stop challengers Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips from staging a debate. And so we're going to watch a little bit of that debate, as you can see right here. Now,
are you sure they're not just cosplaying the opening scene of Scanners? I think they're recreating that opening scene. Is someone's head's going to explode?
Now, yeah, look, they are being told that the votes in this primary don't matter. And so this debate is as irrelevant as debates come, which means, I guess, since it's irrelevant anyway, they probably told the videographer, hey, we would like this debate to look as much like public access television from 1982 as possible. Like, could it look worse? Is there a cell phone in America that shoots worse video than this?
I'm like, they're going for Cronenberg. You're just like, no, this is public access.
This looks like public access TV from the 70s and 80s. A cell phone would take 10 times better video and audio than this. It's unbelievable. The set, everything. This looks like it was shot 40 years ago, does it not?
No, they're going for irony. They're
just insane.
They're doing like a Donnie Darko thing.
Yeah. Although that was 90s. I think this is even before.
Well, that was 90s, but at the time that they made it, the style was kind of retro.
Well, let's hear, because the audio also fits the video. So let's hear first question to Dean Phillips, polling at a resounding 6%, according to the latest numbers.
You're both campaigning here in New Hampshire.
Look at this.
The president's name is not on the ballot. He sent a letter yesterday saying New Hampshire's meaningless. Would you characterize this congressman as voter suppression?
Yes. In fact, I have that letter right here. I hope it goes in the National Archives on display, because I think it's one of the most egregious affronts to democracy I've ever seen in my entire lifetime as an American, period. And I'll tell you what's by the way, voter ID, you know, if every American could easily get an ID, that's different. But the fact of the matter, if you are disabled or you are elderly or you live in a rural area where it's really hard, it's nonsensical. So that's voter suppression. But you know what else is voter suppression? What's happening right here. What's happening in Florida, what's happening in North Carolina, what they're trying to do in Massachusetts and other states. The Democratic Party should be investing in democracy, promoting debate, promoting candidates, and promoting voters. What are they doing? They're suppressing them. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm an affable, decent, common sense person that is telling you the truth. I know Marianne knows exactly the same thing, and your generation, all of you in this room, please take note. The parties are destroying democracy.
All right. Well, they definitely could have used some investment from the party. What's that?
By generation, he means the people too young to vote.
Yeah.
Which apparently there were many in that room.
Yes, indeed. I'll get to that in 1 second. But they sure could have used some investment from the DNC to, you know, get a more professional video and audio. That is just such a bizarre choice to have it look and sound that terrible. But to Russell's point, as Politico very snarkily mentions, Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson rail against Biden to a crowd of who? 7th graders. The two long-shot candidates squared off in a New Hampshire debate on Monday. So I guess this was a mix of adults and junior high school kids. I don't know. Maybe there were field trips that they had. Maybe they got extra credit in social studies class if they went to see the debate. I'm sure there were junior high kids who were there for the extra credit. It sounds like something you would give kids extra credit for doing. In a primary packed with inconsequential debates among long-shot candidates, Monday's bout between Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson might have been the biggest dud. The Minnesota representative and the self-help guru sparred in front of a crowd of 7th graders and adults in a downtown Manchester ballroom during the 2-week run-up to the primary that their party has decided won't count, and that the incumbent, President Joe Biden, isn't bothering to compete in. Quote, Joe Biden should have been right here with us, Phillips said from the stage. He is taking the Granite State for granted. He is taking this election for granted. And he is taking every single one of you and this entire country for granted, Phillips said. Williamson chimed in, I agree with that. But Biden was in South Carolina, drawing contrast not with his Democratic challengers, but with his likely general election opponent, former President Donald Trump. And so Phillips and Williamson were left to make the case against him at a convention hosted by a local college in a debate airing on Monday evening Sirius XM radio. The only other presidential hopeful scheduled to show up and speak at the event was low-polling Republican former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. Phillips cast Biden as a risk to democracy because he is knowingly going into an election which his approval numbers and his poll numbers make it almost impossible to win, a nod to national surveys that show Biden trailing Trump and, in some cases, Republican former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
That sounds pretty Democratic to me.
Yeah. I know Marianne feels the same way, Phillips said as he stood alongside her. We are the only two in the United States of America on the Democratic side of the aisle to stand up and tell you the truth. He's going to lose. He's going to lose. Yet 2 weeks before voters head to the polls, neither Phillips nor Williamson appear to be denting Biden's support in surveys in the state where the only way to cast a vote for the president will be to write in his name on the ballot. A St. Anselm College poll from mid-December showed Biden with a 40 percentage point lead over his rivals as a write-in, mind you, in a primary that the DNC officially announced now will not count. And Biden's allies are ramping up their efforts with the write-in campaign. Representative Jamie Raskin became the latest in a string of high-profile surrogates to throw his weight behind the effort, appearing in a press conference in Concord on Monday afternoon alongside Representative Annie Kuster and prominent Democratic State Senator Donna Soucy to cast this election as a choice between a champion of democracy in Biden and a threat to it in Trump. A super PAC set up to encourage voters to write in Biden's name has also spent nearly $350,000 so far on mailers, digital advertising, and phone banking, according to the group's latest campaign finance filings. So, this is a tweet that came out. The DNC made it official. They've confirmed that they will not accept New Hampshire's delegates as the New Hampshire Democratic primary continues to move forward with their first-in-the-nation primary. They called it meaningless and said that presidential candidates should take all steps possible not to participate. Despite that, obviously...
I'm just going to say, it's said there if you go back to that, this ignores the hard work of thousands of volunteers and staffers for campaigns like Marianne Williamson, right. Dean Phillips,
I forgot that
Cenk
part.
Uygur, and more. All right. I'm sorry. Who knows if it's thousands? It may be dozens, but they want to put a brave face on it. If you actually gave time or money to any of these people, particularly Cenk Uygur, who's not even legally allowed to run, whatever deflection to Arnold Schwarzenegger's woes he might want to make, I'm sorry, you are dumb as a box of rocks. What the fuck is in the mind of somebody who would donate time, money, lint to any of these people? Why would you do that?
Well, that's true.
I really don't feel bad for those people at all.
At the same time, the rationale here that what ignores the hard work of thousands of volunteers? It's the fact that the DNC is trying to cancel the primary.
Sure, but this is what we were saying from the beginning. Even before it emerged with Marianne Williamson, her long 30-year history of narcissistic abuse of her staff, which has been very well documented even before we knew about that. The real dispute was, why are you trying to sheepdog people into a meaningless primary?
Of course.
We know the DNC rigs it. They rigged it against Sanders, who was far, far and away a more credible candidate than Marianne Williamson will ever be. So why would you get involved in this? Why are you telling people to get invested in this? Again, that's what the fight was really over when those battle lines were first drawn, which were, I would say the first shot was fired by RBN in that infamous interview. And that's really what it was about. And Nick put it right there on the table. Hey, why should working people who poured all this time and money into the Sanders campaign, something he personally had a lot of experience with, why should we get involved in your campaign? And she had a total fucking meltdown, which, I mean, that's a character issue. But nobody could answer that question, because how can you answer that? What answer could you possibly put forth that would make it make sense?
Well, here's some numbers that make a certain thing make sense, which is that the voters are the main barrier to progress inside the Democratic Party, because, as we just told you there, the DNC has made it official as of recently, but we've known this for months. We've known this for almost a year now, that South Carolina was going to be first, and that if New Hampshire jumped the gun, their delegates would be discounted, and this would be an irrelevant primary. Joe Biden has said he does not plan to compete in the New Hampshire state primary, simply because their participation as first in the nation is now in violation of the new DNC rules. So good boy that he is. He's keeping his name off the ballot, but as a write-in in an inconsequential primary that he has denounced himself, he is winning by more than 40 points over his rival. Latest poll, Biden 64, Phillips 6, Williamson 2. 2 points. And there they are, having a debate. They will be in New Hampshire the weekend before that vote into Tuesday. I am going to try to go to both a Dean Phillips event and a Marianne event. I'm hoping to go to both. And I really want to talk to the people there, not just about why you're there, why did you think it was worthwhile to get invested in this campaign, but more importantly, I would like to know if they plan on voting for the Democratic ticket in November, because one of the things that made this move especially risky for the Democrats to do, bouncing New Hampshire out. I could see bouncing Iowa out because of the debacle that was the Iowa caucuses last time, but it certainly wasn't New Hampshire's fault. And part of the risk in doing this is that New Hampshire is actually a very, very close swing state. It hasn't gone red since George W. Bush won it. I think Bush won it in 2000 and lost it in 2004. If Cool Blue is here, he'll know that for sure. But I'm pretty sure Bush won it in 2000, which means it's been over 20 years since a Republican has won. But they have come very, very close a number of times, including in 2016 when Trump very, very narrowly lost New Hampshire. And so burning the base in a very close swing state when you need every electoral vote you can get, not a smart move, but I'd be very curious to know how the voters are going to respond to being disenfranchised in this way.
Well, you're talking about Democrats, as that polling shows. Most of them will just be good soldiers.
Of course. Most of them.
They'll just go.
It's a matter of, these things are decided on the margins.
I gotta go and vote for Joe Biden to show my support.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what most of them are gonna do. The idea that you've got a fucking super PAC spending money that you'd be better off throwing it in a garbage can and lighting it on fire. This is how little concern these people have for people or voters. To spend $350,000 on a meaningless writing campaign? I mean, You got people hurting in this country, man. Why don't you give that to a community center? Give it to a food bank? They don't give a fuck about people. That for what? Bragging rights in a meaningless primary? You're going to spend that kind of money?
Yeah, no, it's insane. Well, that's how they raise money. They raise money by telling their donors, hey, we need money to protect Joe Biden in New Hampshire because a defeat in New Hampshire would be very embarrassing and it would cause a lot of instability in the race and it would undermine him in November. Can we count on you to help us get Joe Biden over the top in New Hampshire?
Big
That's
donors.
all it is.
We all get those texts. We all get those because Bernie sold us out like the fucking
he gave
piece
our
of
emails
shit that he is. He gave our fucking. I never gave my emails to the DNC. I stay on the list because I do this, so it allows me to see what kind of shit that they're sending out. And it's Russell, can this be right? We've been looking at your list and you have not activated your membership. I'm sure a lot of us get those ridiculous emails and texts from them. I forgot to mention this on the Jimmy Show. When I was covering the Capitol Hill PSYOP guy who's running for Congress now, the Capitol Police guy, I literally got a text from his campaign as I was doing that segment.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Literally.
Wow. That's something, huh?
Well, I mean, that proves they're watching us.
Indeed. Well, at least he's a viewer. Maybe he super chatted us at some point.
Maybe.
Hobbs45, thanks for the $11. Juana Man was the groundbreaking trans athlete who first showed us that biological men can not only compete against women in basketball, but dominate them as well. Thank you, Hobbs45. Appreciate that. Patrick Donahue, seeing Russell host the Jimmy Dore Show is like seeing your kid going to college. Wipes away a tear. Thank you, Patrick Donahue. That's very sweet. And read the comments on his videos from his show on the Jimmy Dore Show. Really positive. Knocking it out of the park. Well done. Thank you, sir. Yeah, the feedback seemed to be good.
I think it was mostly the shirt. I'm going to take Friday off. I'm going to have the shirt host.
The reviews are good.
I'm just going to put the shirt on the chair. And
there you go.
It's mostly about that. It's funny. You have like 20 comments of people who are like, where do I get that shirt? I love that shirt. I love that shirt. And then you always get one nut who's like, dress up. Yeah. Dress up, goddammit. Yeah. Jimmy dresses sharp.
No, Russ, you deliberately packed your most provocative and interesting T-shirts for the show. To be
I did,
part
because
of the show.
they can be seen. I mean, right now I'm like back further so you can actually see my whole torso, but you usually can.
Yeah,
so
on StreamYard it kind of cuts you off right here.
It cuts you off, right? But I knew you'd see it, so I brought all my most conversation starting shirts.
Well, that's the cool thing about doing a podcast where you only need the shirt that's visible from like here up. Like the shirt I wore in the Jimmy Dore Show, that's one of my favorite shirts. I've had it for so many years, though. It's been in the dryer so many times. It's greatly shrunk. So that shirt is now only for podcasting. Like it looks ridiculous if I wear it in real life, but from here up, it looks the same. So why not?
I definitely, I'm wearing one of those right now.
Yeah, you hang on to it. You wear it on the air. Nobody can tell the difference.
No, dude, I have a Cthulhu shirt for you. I just haven't seen you.
Oh, really? You got me a Cthulhu shirt.
Yeah, you have one, and I still have your Due Dissident shirt, right?
Yes, indeed. Yep. Jax Page, thanks for the $5. Great job on the Jimmy Dore Show. You should be very proud of the work you're both doing. Thank you, Jax. I'm thrilled to see how the channel is growing. Well deserved. Thank you very, very much for that. Appreciate that. James Vander Zanden. When one door closes, another opens. Boeing. Yeah, that's good. I like that one, James. Appreciate that. Obligatory Black Sheep says, fantastic job on Jimmy Dore Show last night, Russ. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sam, Pete declared himself winner of the New Hampshire. Oh, that's right. Pete's running again. Pete Guaido 24. Thank you very much. Russell, get your singing bowl ready because we got a big one coming up, and I mean a big one.
Big one.
The Amazing Blumpkin, thanks for the $5. It looks like they're getting ready to spew 3 paragraphs of bullshit. Yeah, indeed. How about this one, Russell? $500.
Holy shit.
Wow, from Orwellian 1984. Well, that's very, very kind of you. We thank you very, very dearly for that. My birthday present to the 2 most influential peeps I've ever come across, unless Russell had more. LOL. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
That's how we do it on the road. Huh?
How's the singing bowl sound on the new mic, everybody?
Yeah, how's it sound? Because we figured out that other mic, before it broke, it was always broke because it doesn't work as well.
It never
as
really
one
worked
does.
right.
No.
Yeah.
So maybe this one doesn't suppress it totally the way the other one did.
Yeah, indeed. All right, folks, we'll take some more super chats in just a moment here. But let's go real quick. Segment number 2. I mentioned I'll be heading to New Hampshire to cover the GOP and, I guess, unofficial scrimmage Democratic primaries as well. But the Republicans have Iowa first. So there's going to be Iowa on the 16th and then New Hampshire. Iowa looks like a rout for Trump, but we had a poll come out today that showed Nikki Haley trimming Trump's lead to single digits in New Hampshire. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has trimmed former President Donald Trump's lead in the Republican primary race in New Hampshire to single digits, according to a new CNN poll conducted by the University of New Hampshire. Trump still holds a meaningful lead in the poll with the backing of 39% of likely Republican primary voters in New Hampshire compared to Haley's 32%. So it's a 7-point race, according to this poll. The rest of the field lags far behind in the poll, with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie at 12%, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy at 8%, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at 5%.
Coming up from behind.
Ouch.
DeSantis coming up from behind. Coming around the turn.
Former Governor Asa Hutchinson from Arkansas at less than 1%. Support for Haley's risen 12 points since the last CNN UNH poll in November, continuing an upward trajectory that began last summer, while her opponents, including Trump, have seen their numbers remain stable or tick slightly downward since autumn. One more slide. Haley's support has grown dramatically among those voters registered as undeclared, New Hampshire's term for independent registrants. She's up 18 points with this group since November. It has also grown 20 points among those who are ideologically moderate. Those gains come amid a push from her campaign in the state, including an endorsement last month from New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. The Granite State's GOP primary is January 23rd. So if you look at the numbers once more, 39 Trump, 32 Haley, Christie at 12. Now, Christie is obviously running as the never Trump darling in the race. Yeah. He is basically auditioning for a contributor spot on MSNBC to join their, ranks of Lincoln Project, never Trump, conservative converts, the noble conservative who thinks we really have to stop Trump. If he feels any responsibility to actually play that role, he would, if these numbers are accurate, drop out and make sure that those votes go to Nikki Haley, which would make her potentially a contender according to these numbers. Ramaswamy could do the same after Iowa, drop out and endorse Trump. The real standout there, though, is Ron DeSantis at a pathetic 5%. I mean, that is just, there's a reason he was runner-up for loser of the year. DeSantis started out this year with as high a stock price as he could have asked for. He came out the clear winner of the midterms. Trump came out a clear loser in the midterms. DeSantis had every opportunity to make this a race. And his problem was he just never bothered broadening his message. Trolling Disney is popular polling wise, but you can't run a national campaign on trolling Disney. Right. And he never came up with a credible platform beyond the very sort of online culture war stuff. And the fact that he is down there at 5 is just remarkable. He's not going to drop out. He's a Machiavellian. He's probably the most cutthroat Machiavellian in the race. He's hanging out until Donald Trump is thrown off the ballot or arrested or jailed or something like that. Yep. He figures that's when he'll make his move. So that guy's in it for the long haul. I don't think he'll drop out. Whether Chris Christie drops out and endorses Haley after Iowa, where Christie's going to come away with nothing, that could be a factor in the race if those numbers hold. Now, Trump is obviously up in the average quite a bit. Haley is making a move at just the right time. If she has an impressive showing in New Hampshire, that then makes South Carolina a little interesting since that's her home state. It would take a lot to shift momentum in this race. But for some reason, she has captured the heart of the not Trump vote. I won't even say the never Trump vote because that's kind of the Christie thing, but she has emerged as the most viable alternative. And I think it's because her general election polling against Biden is very strong and Ron DeSantis is very weak. Ron DeSantis can't even really make the electability argument anymore.
It's a combination of factors. Like you say, with DeSantis, I've paid pretty close attention to Ron DeSantis. I could not even begin to tell you what his economic policies are. I've never heard him articulate one.
No.
On the military, war, he only offers an opinion if you press him, and it's very vague and, very let me not get in trouble with this answer. So the only thing he stands for is fuck Mickey Mouse. And as you say, you can't. I mean, a lot of people feel that way, but the nerdrotic audience is not enough to win a national campaign. He's got the nerdrotic vote, but that's just not enough. So with Haley, I've said this many times. People who believe that the Republican Party is a racist party in the way that they are conceiving it or thinking of it, they're barking up the wrong tree. I have always said those people like nothing better than a non-white male to represent them, to deflect the identity politics attacks away. It's about policy. It's about what you represent. Even if you represent policies that are tacitly racist, they will still, they like to have somebody, a beard. They like to have somebody like that.
That makes you more of a
just
beard,
like the Democrats do, for that matter.
Right.
So the idea, Republicans, they won't vote for that person. No, I think it's actually an advantage with that party because they know the image that they have. They love having a candidate that can deflect that image. So you have an Indian woman. I think that's actually to her advantage in the Republican primaries, and counterintuitively for a lot of people. And hey, this is the last stand of the Bushies. It's the last stand of those kinds of Republicans. And who else would they coalesce around? Christie? I mean, that's just Trump light. So if you look
maybe
at
not Trump light, but
Trump light on policy and demeanor.
Yeah,
Trump heavy
in other ways
in his birth. I mean Christie's, they're not gonna gravitate around Christie. So who do they have? And also remember, you got all those Republicans in the suburbs who crossed over and voted for Biden. They don't want to keep voting for Democrats. They don't like Democrats. So Haley is offering them that. MSNBC is signaling, no, don't worry. We'll be okay with Nikki Haley. We'll let you. Everyone will go back to brunch if we elect Nikki Haley.
And Haley just kind of oozes like low information, blue-pilled soccer mom affability and competence. Like, she's the kind of person these people would run into at a PTA meeting, like the average upper middle class suburbanite who, maybe reads 5 minutes of news a day on their phone when they wake up in the morning. Haley is perfect for them. She's right in their wheelhouse, and they pull a lot of weight on election day. Those are the moderate swing voters. That's what makes her very viable generally as well in November. Still, I don't think she's going to get there, but the fact that she made it close in New Hampshire, according to some surveys, means that you could extend the primary calendar a little past where you thought you would.
That's why I say it's the last stand. It's the last stand. I mean, what do you think? All of the Steve Schmidt Republicans went away and died?
Right.
They're there. And the idea that these MAGA vermin, if I may use the term,
quote unquote vermin.
I'm sure they do privately.
Yeah.
Are going to take their party away from them. Yeah, I mean they're looking for a candidate to have a last stand around, and Nikki Haley is the most credible person to play that role.
Indeed. All right, we'll go to some Rumble rants. Sloppy Top 10, thanks for the $5. I read Flowers in the Attic in the school library when I was a kid. There's a scene where a brother, does that to his sister. That's not nice, but it's cool because she didn't blow him. That's a great Rumble rant.
That's directed at me. All right, so I'm going to answer that. I read Flowers in the Attic probably, I think I was like 13. I think I was like in the 8th grade when I read Flowers in the Attic, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I did not get it out of the school library. I got it out of the public library, and I had special permission to take out whatever books I wanted for my mom. And even so, I think when you're talking about putting books like Genderqueer, that one time we put up a blurred out image on the show. And what did that video? It got demonetized or it got pulled down?
No, it got demonetized. It didn't get pulled down.
It got demonetized. So, and that's blurred out. That's not even showing it. Now, it's really simple. Just like I was allowed to read things like that at the public library, if that's what you feel genderqueer is appropriate for your child, you feel that graphic sexual imagery like that is appropriate for your child, that's up to you. That's up to you. I don't think anybody should tell you can't do that. I don't think it's the role of the state when you have this compulsory public education where these children have to go to these public schools, especially because in this country they function as daycare. It is not up to the state to decide that children should be exposed to this. And if it's the same person I was talking to I told you about this. YouTube took down my comments or shadow banned them. When you talk about these other books that they do want to ban that are, not that, well, okay, genius. When you start telling parents that they have to expose their children to this, well, guess what? They turn to people like Ron DeSantis to protect them from you. And people like that are not going to stop at that. So all you end up doing is empowering people who, we haven't really gotten into this too much on the show lately. These are people we had defeated a long time ago. These people, the conservative evangelicals, they were the butt of every joke and every gross out comedy. Those were always the people we were laughing at. All you did by trying to push that kind of thing on parents and not leave it up to each family is you brought those people back from the dead and gave them a political power that they hadn't had in decades.
Yeah. I mean, DeSantis is still at 5%, but, just saying.
Hey, not
I
in
know
state.
what you mean. He's
Not in
governor
the
of Florida.
state.
I know. I mess with you.
And look at Trump. Trump sings that song too. He he just has other notes in his repertoire.
Yeah, he's the complete package for sure. Right. A correct political headline. Thank you, P. Walker. Biden campaign terrified of room filled with 7th graders. Yeah, due to risk of hair sniffing by president. Well, that's why he didn't show up. They had to keep him away. $1.99 from Sam. Thanks. Marianne had the most 7th grade TikTok followers. That's true. She's huge on TikTok. Maybe that's why they came. I forgot all about that. Nocturnal Human. Thanks for the $1. I'm one of yours, and I just signed up for locals. Thank you very much, Nocturnal Human. Appreciate that. Abiding, thanks for the $1. Menachem's razor, the simplest way to steal land is genocide. Good. I like that one too. That's funny. All right. We'll take a couple more here. Oh, Hersto says, Russell, you enjoying Jimmy's weed? Jimmy doesn't have weed anymore. Quit.
He quit. I can vouch for it. I've been spending a lot of time with him, man. I ain't smelling no weed off that guy. He gave that shit up, man, for real.
Gave it up. Noah, thanks for the $2. A little too contemptuous of rank and file Dems, in my opinion. Well, you're entitled to your opinion. Thank you. But I've made my position pretty clear for a while. Okay, yes, Cool Blue is here.
The only people Keaton hates more than rank and file Democrats are Ivy League students.
Yeah, there you go. Well, there's a lot of overlap there. Cool Blue is here to corroborate my theory, or my recollection, rather. Bush carried New Hampshire in 2000, yes. Flip for Kerry in 2004. New Hampshire and Minnesota vote alike. Since 2004, they average 1.24 in margin spread, just 0.24 spread in 2020. Wow. U.S. popular vote margin of Republican +5 flips both. That's true, although Gore took Minnesota in 2000, did he not, Cool Blue? For another $9.99. Please confirm that for me. Just kidding. All right, let's move on. Segment number 3 of the evening. The Obamas are nervous about 2024. We have a lot of election coverage tonight. I may as well just say this. So if you may have noticed this, you may not have. We're trying to minimize the overlap between what we cover here and what we cover on the Jimmy Dore Show. There will be a couple of segments that overlap, but we're trying to keep the lineups as different as we can. Although we will be getting into this on the Jimmy Show tomorrow. But
yeah, whether we cover the Jew tunnels here or there kind of depends on how he reacts to a video. Working up about that subject. If he doesn't want it there, we'll bring it here.
So the Obamas are getting nervous about 2024. This is a story that came out in the Washington Post. Obama, worried about Trump, urges Biden's circle to bolster campaign. Former President Barack Obama has raised questions about the structure of President Biden's re-election campaign, discussing the matter directly with Biden and telling the president's aides and allies the campaign needs to be empowered to make decisions without clearing them with the White House, according to 3 people familiar with the conversation. So he's basically saying you need to take a back seat and get some adults in here who know how to run a campaign. Obama grew animated in discussing the 2024 election and former President Donald Trump's potential return to power. So yeah, he's basically saying, listen, you need to get some pros in here. Listen, Joe, if there's one thing I've always thought about you, it's that you're dumb. That's part of why I picked you in the first place. And so you need to get some grown men in here who know how to run the campaign, like mine. He actually floated one of his advisors there as well. He has suggested to Biden's advisors that the campaign needs more top-level decision makers at the headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware, or it must empower the people already in place. Obama has not recommended specific individuals, but he has mentioned David Plouffe, who managed Obama's 2008 race, as the type of senior strategist needed at the Biden campaign. Obama's conversation with Biden on the subject took place during a private lunch at the White House in recent months, one of the people said, a meeting that has not yet been previously reported. Biden, who has long used Obama as a sounding board, invited his former boss to lunch, and the two discussed a range of topics, including the 2024 election. During the lunch, Obama noted the success of his re-election campaign, meaning Obama's, in 2012, when some of his top presidential aides, including David Axelrod and Jim Messina, left the White House to take charge of the re-election operation in Chicago. That is a sharp contrast from Biden's approach of leaving his closest aides at the White House, even though they are involved in all the key decisions made by the campaign. So the reason why Obama could delegate and Biden can't is because Biden can't be president because Biden's brain doesn't work anymore. See, it's a lot easier to delegate, to let your top staff go and work on the campaign while you run the country if you are capable mentally of running the country. The problem here is that Joe Biden is clearly not. Obama also recommended that Biden seek counsel from Obama's own former campaign aides, which Biden officials say they have done, the people said. Obama has been even more explicit with people close to Biden, suggesting the campaign needs to move aggressively as Trump appears poised to quickly wrap up the Republican nomination. His concerns about the campaign structure were not tied to a specific moment, but rather his belief that campaigns need to be agile in competitive races, the people said, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss confidential conversations. So, that's Barack Obama. Here's Michelle Obama on a recent podcast articulating her fears. She's terrified of a Trump victory.
Where are people? You wonder over them.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder, where are people? Where are we in this? Where are our hearts? What's going to happen in this next election? I am terrified about what could possibly happen because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted.
I mean, that's just unbelievable. I'm going to play this one more time, the last few seconds.
Because our leaders matter. Who we select, who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted.
No, people don't take that for granted. People just don't pay much attention to how people speak for them or who holds the bully pulpit. Because what do we say all the time? The politics of liberalism is a politics of manners. It's a politics of politeness. Right. It's very important to Michelle Obama, who owns a 12-bedroom mansion on Martha's Vineyard, who represents her. You can't have an uncouth man like Donald Trump representing you if you're Michelle Obama. We
can't have migrants here. We don't have the room.
We don't have the room.
We don't have the capacity here to take care of these people. We got to send them to an army base. That's obvious. That's humane.
Exactly.
Give them a juice box. Send them on their way.
And so for Michelle Obama, who represents you, who speaks for you, is this matter of tremendous import, carries tremendous weight. The average person doesn't give a shit who speaks for them. The average person only cares about what's happening, what's actually happening in the world around them. And so she's terrified that what? We'll have a rude president? That's what you're terrified about? Look at the world around you right now. Look at what's happening in the world right now since Donald Trump handed the baton to Joe Biden. We've got World Wars III and IV brewing. We got a world war on the China front, on the Iran front, on the Eastern European front. I mean, on North Korea.
Those
I
are
mean,
rogue
it has
states.
just been so
They're rogue
unbelievably
states,
disastrous.
Keaton.
What's that?
They're rogue states, Keaton.
Yeah, we've provoked the rogue states. We can't even control the rogue states anymore under Joe Biden.
Joe Biden doesn't coddle dictators.
That's right.
Why.
That's right. We need more coddlers. We need to bring coddlers back to the White House. Give me a coddler any day. Maybe Donald Trump will hire Aaron Mate, that great coddler. Wow, that's a throwback. That's a reference going back to August 2022. How do you like that? We haven't used that one in a while.
That's going back to the video that made us.
Exactly. It's an old school reference. That was before a lot of you guys' time. But yeah, just quite unbelievable. Just unbelievable. She's terrified that we'll have a rude person representing us. She's really, really scared about that. Really high stakes. Really high stakes. I'm sure the average person really identifies with that.
Well, that's the thing. When you talk to people, and there are such people, I think a lot of our audience have people like that in their families. We often hear your tales of woe, especially around the holidays. There is an audience for this. There is an audience that will, after hearing Michelle say that, talk about it as if it's something to take seriously or at face value. Yeah, did you see Michelle? No, I mean, look, I don't like Joe Biden, but hey, we can't have Trump because that's the end. That's the end of democracy. There are people who buy this, and those people are one of two things. Sometimes a combination of both. Very economically secure, and very often they are lonely enough that the voices of corporate media are the only ones keeping them company, and a lot of those people are elderly. Those are the only people I find who actually believe this. And particularly with the latter, they vote disproportionately. There are a lot of more of them relative to their numbers voting than all the rest of us. If everybody voted in those numbers, they couldn't get elected dog catcher in Peoria. These people, the Obamas, none of them could. If you had the system you have in Australia, then that's why they'll never do that here. You get fined if you don't vote in Australia. It's the law. You have to vote. If you had the whole body, and I think that results in like an 80% vote. It's still not 100%. It's about 80. Can you imagine who would get elected if 80% of the American public voted? None of these people. Our entire political class would be wiped out overnight if most people voted. This language is for those people on the margins who actually vote. They're freaks, but they have a disproportionate effect on our politics because part of their freakishness is they actually take this stuff seriously and vote accordingly.
Yes, indeed. Agreed. Alrighty, folks. We are past segment 3. It is time for us to plug our patreon.com.
Go to a card.
Do dissonance. Yeah, time for a card. Folks, you can help support our program by going to patreon.com/do dissidents. It really helps us out a tremendous amount. Perks of joining means your name up in lights here on the show credits. You also get call-in access to our weekly post-show Q&As over on Rumble, as well as access to 2 exclusive supporter streams per month. That's right. 2 fun, interactive, uncensored shows exclusively for our paid members every single month. I say interactive because you have call-in access to those as well. So those are a really fun time. We thank you all for signing up and joining. Because we have crossed the 500 member threshold, we are, as soon as Russ is done with his stint at the Jimmy Dore Show, adding a 4th stream per week to our schedule here. So you can go to patreon.com/DoDissidents. You can also go to dodissidents.substack.com and sign up, or check out our locals. Perks are the same across the board. Wherever you sign up for $5 a month, you access all those perks that I just mentioned. We try our best to make it a good deal for you all. If you're on Rumble right now, I think we got over 800 watching on Rumble, in addition to 1,500 plus in the YouTube chat. You can click that join button right underneath the screen. That takes you to our Rumble. That takes you to our locals, which is integrated with our Rumble. And you could sign up right there. We already had Nocturnal Human join the party over on locals earlier in this stream. So thank you all very much to our members. You guys are the backbone of the show. We say that every single time, and we mean it every single time. Patreon.com/DoDissidents, DoDissidents.substack.com, or DoDissidents.locals.com. Dealer's choice, whatever you prefer. Back from the road, thanks to the $4.99. Spending your money on any of them in the New Hampshire primary is as hollow as Jim Crow Joe's trip to Mother Emanuel. Thank you, Back from the Road. Appreciate that. Stephen Hayes, thanks for the $10. I hope Nikki Haley sucks their lobbyist dollars to zero effects. That's the most likely outcome, indeed. Back from the Road, Nikki can't even tell the truth about her name. Yeah, I forget her name, but it's not Haley. It's something, I forget what it is. It's a long, complicated name. Noah, thanks for the $5. People thinking Nikki is moderate shows how ignorant and chauvinist Americans are in foreign policy. Neocons are the most dangerous extremists. Absolutely, yes, 100%. Very good point there. Thank you very much. Nikki's a screeching hag, says Sparky, for $2. And for another $2, Nikki's heavily astroturfed polls are bogus. Look, that's a possibility. I mean, that was an outlier. But she's definitely eaten the lunch of Ron DeSantis. That's definitely the story there. She has definitely emerged as a clear second place to Trump. Even Ramaswamy has really cooled off. You know, he was one of those Herman Cain candidacies where, oh, wow, for a few weeks, everybody's interested in him, and then, oh, never mind. People seem to have moved on from him.
I do feel he has the most raw political talent of anyone who has joined the field to challenge Trump.
Yeah, but, look, he's pretty shallow as well. I mean, you saw when Jimmy interviewed him, those answers on Israel just punting. Well, it's, they should be free to do whatever they want. I'm president of the United States. And Jimmy very clearly made the point, well, you're going to have to be involved in this. This is a major world event. President of the United States means you can look out for your country's interests. Doesn't mean you get to ignore everything that goes on in the world, much less a genocide that is being perpetuated by our client state.
Yeah, no.
So he's a bit of a Weasley fuck.
Why I didn't say I want to elect him? I said he has the most raw political talent of anybody out there.
He does. He has skills. But he's got those smarmy politician vibes too. I mean, he is on many issues as much of a double-talking hack as any of them.
Sure, but he sells it better.
Yeah, no, he's got talent. He's got chops. For sure. That's a good one. From James Van Der Zanden. Nikki Haley is Hillary Clinton in human form. Thank you, James. Appreciate that.
That was clever.
Indeed. All right, Nocturnal Human. You can't make people unknow everything about Biden with a new campaign manager. He's lost already, no matter what happens next. Yeah, it seems out of reach for him. I would agree with that. The Biden campaign says $1 Million Trooper is going to bolster Biden's nervous system with high-grade pharmaceuticals and hope he doesn't OD.
Honestly, watching that fascist speech he gave the other day, it's always funny. He's attacking Trump on fascism, and he has all these fascist aesthetics around him. But yeah, he's just they definitely shoot him up with something before these speeches. I don't buy that he's able to maintain that kind of cogence for that long. And even so, the drugs are wearing off because now, with the drugs, come on, folks.
Yeah,
we're
no.
America. We're better than this. Like he still can't really bring it.
And you got to be out there every day. You got to be doing events 3-4 days a week at minimum if you're going to run a campaign.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, no, it seems extremely unlikely that he will cross the finish line. Folks, I want to do a little PSA here. A listener sent this to Russell, a little public service announcement. I tweeted out a tweet from Akunji, Muhammad Akunji, on Twitter. I pinned this to the top of the Do Dissidents profile. These are instructions on how to email the International Court of Justice to express how you feel before they make judgment on the South Africa versus Israel genocide case.
Yeah, this
which starts this Thursday.
Yeah, this came to us. I was tagged in a post by a very dedicated viewer and listener, Georgette Druckenberg. So thanks for passing that on, Georgette. This is something that we all want to do. This is submitting our support for the case in the Court of Justice.
All right, so here's a brief video that's attached to the tweet.
I'm here to talk to you about nothing less than a pivotal moment in our global history. The International Court of Justice was founded in 1948 after the horrors endured by European Jews in World War II at the hands of Nazi Germany. The ICJ stands as the world's leading court dedicated to the principle of never again. This week, on Thursday, the ICJ will convene to address South Africa's allegations against Israel, where they accuse them of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. Now, this is not just a legal hearing. In truth, it's a moment that will shape the course of current human history. Professor Finkelstein suggests that the judgment will be a close call, possibly determined by just a vote or two. The outcome of this case will determine whether we as ordinary people can trust international institutions to deliver a just and fair verdict for all of humanity. Now, here's where you come in. It's imperative that you make your voice heard. Email the ICJ judges and let them know how you feel about this crucial decision that's upcoming. The details outlining this action are in the tweet below, and your opinion can make a difference in this historic decision. Thank you for joining us in this important call to action. Let's stand together for justice and ensure that never again remains a commitment upheld by the International Court of Justice.
So if you go to our Twitter, just click on profile, and it is the pinned tweet. It is at the top of our Twitter feed. They have text that you can copy and paste if you like it, read it and see if you sign off on it. I'm sure you will, that you can copy and paste into an email. Or you could obviously express yourself in your own words if you want. But that's something we should definitely do. That trial starts on Thursday. And so it's important to make all our voices heard on that. And thank you, Georgette, for sending that over to us. We very much appreciate that. All right, here's one segment that we covered on the Jimmy Dore Show. Joe Biden went to AME Church in South Carolina with his good friend Jim Clyburn to try.
We're getting a lot of people telling us we hit another 666 before we get into the meat of this.
All right. Beautiful. Well, yeah, so we've been at more than 666 on Rumble. I forgot about that. We're probably over 666 likes as well.
And I just want to reinforce, really send that email. If you're like us, a lot of people probably say, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing to change things? You're just hanging out, getting high, getting drunk, staying up late, not having a real job, just driving delivery food or giving tours. This is a chance to make a real difference. This is a chance to do something substantive. I mean, I'm kidding around, but I'm not. In all seriousness, hey, man, here's your chance. Will it tilt the needle? We don't know, but we have to try.
If enough of us do it, it can't hurt.
It can't just be talking about these things. We have an opportunity to take an action. Send that email.
Yeah, it certainly can hurt. Can't hurt. Joe Biden was in South Carolina making his second campaign speech of 2024. The first one went a little something like this. Trump, January, gonna sucker Trump. And so there wasn't a high bar to jump, but this one arguably went even worse since he had some interruptions along the way. So here we go.
Be careful.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
This is part of the bullshit that he does too. You notice a lot of Democrats do this when they're protesters because they know Trump has a reputation for telling security, hit him in the head, drag him out, get him out. They all do the bullshit. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah,
let him talk,
yeah.
right? To try and differentiate themselves from Trump, right? That really wins a lot of points with the, shit lib base there. It's okay, they're passionate. They're passionate about all the people being bombed with my help. Let him talk. Let him talk. See how reasonable I am. See what a good guy I am. See how non-fascist I am. See what an antidote to Trump I am. Oh yeah, let him talk. Let him talk. It's not like we do anything. They'll probably vote for us anyway. So just let him talk.
I'll tell you, man, they didn't get the Emmanuel synagogue treatment. Those Jews don't fuck around.
Oh yeah, no. Well, these guys were very cooperative.
The Christians don't. So I mean, okay, Jose drag him out, but I didn't. I didn't. They still gave me the fucking business, man.
Well, that's because you went after Jose. They were at their wits' end by the time you stood up. No, these guys just put their hands up and left.
The fucking ex-cop who wouldn't let me leave, who fucking wouldn't give me my bag back. I mean, I learned something from that. Don't bring a bag.
Don't bring a bag. Yeah.
Don't bring something you have to check, because then that's something they can fuck with you on.
Yeah, no, you need to be able to get the hell out.
That guy was seeing his career flash before his eyes. I think that's why he broke my balls like that. Because how does he answer to the employers? What, these guys didn't look sketchy to you?
Did these guys have Planned Parenthood tote bags? No, they did not. No, they did not. You should have seen this coming. What are you, a fucking moron? All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. Hey, whoever sent us that super chat earlier saying I was too hard on the Democratic voters, did you see that? Did you see that? I don't know if you hung around. Hopefully you did, because I would rest my case right there.
We got an audience full of Democratic voting base coddlers who want to expose children to graphic cocksucking. I don't know what brought you here, but you got the wrong show.
Well, that wasn't the same guy.
I bet it was the same guy, or it was his cousin.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, folks.
Okay, so I got into this a little bit on the Jimmy Dore show, and they wisely cut out the part where I really got in the weeds, because Keaton sent me this video like it was just blowing up that day. He sent this to me when I was in the middle of making sure that I didn't fuck up any of the technicals on Jimmy's show. So I didn't know anything about it other than I saw a little bit of it. So I didn't know that it was in the church where Dylan Roof did the shooting or anything. All I saw was how fucking white that crowd was. And I thought it was a weird choice. I was like, what, did he go to a fucking white church in South Carolina?
No, this is the AME.
Instead of a black church? Right, which means they packed the house with white people who are Democratic donors or activists or volunteers. That's not, I mean, if that's the church that Dylan Roof shot up, that is not the parishioners of that church. I mean, look at the crowd. It is a mostly white crowd.
Yeah, it's at least half and half. At least half and half.
I think, I don't know, man. I mean, did they show the crowd again?
Yeah, they showed a little bit. I mean, if you look at that, yeah. I would say at least half and half. Probably mostly white.
Looking like a snowstorm in there to me, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, folks, I understand I understand their passion, and I've been quietly working with the Israeli government to get them to reduce and significantly get out of Gaza.
Oh, is that right?
I'm using all that I can to do that.
Oh, you've been quietly working to get Israel out of Gaza. Interesting. Again, that's what Matthew Miller said. Matthew Miller said at the beginning of this, when Max Blumenthal asked him, hey, how are you going to make sure that Israel abides by international law? They said, well, we'll let them know in private where we think there may be some violations. And now, 3 months and almost 30,000 dead bodies later, here's Joe Biden. Hey, I'm quietly working to try and get them to stop. Wow.
Yeah, but you
4 more years.
I mean, to Keaton's let's put them all in a re-education camp point, what is the fucking mentality of people that would be reacting that way to this mummy who clearly you could see for a moment there he kind of gets scared and confused, and then it comes back to just the boilerplate. Yes, I've been working quiet.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just you're going to chant 4 more years and you're going to clap for him talking about the efforts he's making with Gaza. Like, what the fuck?
I've been quietly working. Woohoo!
What the fuck? I mean, these people, Keaton is right. You know, everybody has their pet things. He tends to go off more about this, but I completely co-sign that. These people are fucking disgusting.
They're horrible. And look, that's not an indictment of the voters. It's an indictment of a certain block of voters called Democratic primary voters. This is why you can't run a Democratic primary. You cannot work with people who will, after ceasefire protesters are dragged out of the room and Joe Biden says, I'm working quietly behind the scenes to stop a genocide that's already killed almost 30,000 people, most of whom women and children. Woohoo! Forget, there's nothing you can accomplish in an organization that is represented disproportionately by people who would clap for that. Nothing you can do. That is a dead end. That's a dead end. I've been on that page for 5 years now almost. Is an absolute dead end.
Well, we saw that we saw it in many ways. But if you didn't figure this out in 2020, when Bernie won the first 3 states and Democratic voters said, when you polled them, that they liked Sanders best, they agreed with his policies the most, all it took was for one of the most corrupt pieces of fucking shit in Congress, James Clyburn, to go up there and go, that was it. It was the end.
And he was sitting behind Joe Biden right there.
And he's sitting behind him right there, man. It's how do you work with people like that?
At
that point, you can't even, to your point, you can't even blame James Clyburn.
No.
Right? Why do you listen to James Clyburn? What the fuck has he ever done for his district that you would even invest this kind of power and influence in him?
No. We had Marcel Dixon on the show when he ran against him, just as, a symbolic sort of primary, just more of a, he ran more to just expose James Clyburn for who he was. We had him on, we talked for 45 minutes. He ran down, I don't have those numbers in my head right now, but Marcel rattled them off one after the other. James Clyburn's constituents are horribly poor, horribly unhealthy. They have horrible access to education. His district is basically a food desert. Marcel was talking about how most of the grocery stores in James Clyburn's district are Dollar Generals and stuff like that, where you get this frozen processed food. The people in his district are living in squalor. And yet the people of South Carolina just boom. Boom.
That's it. Whoever and if you remember, they were running pretty close in South Carolina, Biden and Bernie. And that was it. All he did was endorse Biden. Bernie's numbers just completely collapsed. At that point, you can't even entirely blame the rigged party and the rigged process. You have to look at who those voters are. How fucking mindless are you?
Of course.
If you're not even talking about somebody who did something. You look at people who wound up becoming corrupt later on. I think I'm thinking of was it John Conyers or no? Who lied about having met Hillary Clinton having met the Clintons in the civil rights era?
He passed away. What
He
was
passed
his
away.
name? Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him.
You know
Very
who I'm talking
famous.
about.
Everybody knows who we're talking about here. How did I blank on that too? How do we both blank on that at the same time?
I don't know. Well, man, we take in constant information. I'm sure it's in the comments already.
It's got to be in the comments already.
You know who.
This
who
is an
we're
easy
talking
one.
about.
I'm embarrassed. I forget his name. But anyway.
Yes, but hey, man, he is a legit hero of the civil rights era. Got his head bashed in by the police, like a legit hero. And yeah, by the time
Lewis, that's it.
Yes,
John Lewis. Yep,
John Lewis.
Thank
by the legit hero, man. You can never take that away from him. But
James Clyburn was a hero. James Clyburn met his wife in jail after getting arrested at a civil rights protest.
Did he? I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the time you got to the Hillary campaign,
at the booking wherever, not in a
he
cell.
had become somebody who's prepared to lie. There's no way that's an honest mistake. He's prepared to lie about meeting the Clintons during the civil rights era in order to shiv a guy who actually was undisputably an activist in that era. So who have you become at that point?
Yeah.
That's not to take away from what he did, but Clyburn, it's even worse because, yes, that may be the case, but he was no John Lewis, I'm sure.
Yeah, and look, it's like this everywhere. These Democratic voters, that's why I'm going to talk to them in New Hampshire. It's not unique to South Carolina. It's all over the country,
right?
Wherever you go.
I am
it
very
doesn't matter.
envious.
Super Tuesday, Bernie was winning every Super Tuesday state in the polls until James Clyburn flipped South Carolina. Media says, okay, never mind Bernie, Biden. Boom, all over the country. All of a sudden, Bernie could barely win anywhere. He barely won California.
Yep. Although I understand there were a lot of shenanigans out there too.
Maybe.
I understand they pulled a lot of shit out there.
They pulled a lot of shit, but that has always been a thing that I thought was overemphasized. It's not that it doesn't happen. It's that the shenanigans, they only work because the voters are stupid enough to get these candidates like Biden close enough anyway.
Right.
The problem is the voters just follow orders at the end of the day.
Well,
right?
that's what I always said about Al Gore. They rigged Florida, but it wouldn't have been close enough to rig if Al Gore didn't suck.
If he won his home state of Tennessee,
right,
he'd have had it in the bag.
Right.
Yep.
They didn't rig Tennessee, so.
Right. Exactly. Cool Blue. Pardon me. Never Trump Republicans are fighting against history. Once a trend begins, it doesn't tend to get stopped. Bushy's, Cheney's, Lincoln Project on the losing side. Yeah, Joe Biden is more of a Lincoln Project type than Trump, for sure, as evidenced by the fact that they've endorsed him. They were one of the first PACs to endorse him, was the Lincoln Project. Ava, Session 7, thanks to the $9.99. Hey, guys, I grew up with premillennium dispensationalism brainwashing. That's a tough one. Thank you for playing 666, as it would make my mother's hair stand on end to know that I enjoy hearing it. Well, thank you, Ava. Appreciate that.
That is nice to hear.
Stephen Hayes, thanks for the $10. Ava, what would she say it like Russell? 666, the number of the beast. I got some conversation going in the chat. Go Yemen, fight the power, says Sparky for $2. Thank you. Oh, here's McDougal again. Hey, McDougal. Hello, fellas. Your favorite member of the MAGA delegation checking in. Have we secured your endorsement for our great President Trump yet? When are you going to call in? I really want you to call in to one of our Q&As or one of our patron shows. You're a patron now. I want you to call in and make the case to us. I appreciate the donations, but I definitely want to hear from you on the next time. You guys are doing great work on the Jimmy Dore Show. Thanks, Sparky, and do this.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, he was a super chatter on the Dore Show the other day.
We remembered Sparky. We had T-Bone,
Virtuoso, the OG. He was on there.
Yep, that's beautiful. Yeah, no, we recognize quite a few of you guys over there. Cool Blue. New Hampshire and Minnesota have voted the same since 2004. Yep, they vote alike. They're in proximity to Michigan and Nevada. The 2024 Trump gets 31 states with Michigan and Nevada. Next would be New Hampshire and Minnesota. Yeah. Trump is looking very strong in both Michigan and Nevada at the moment. I think he'd win both of those if the election were held now. Pickle the Pirate, thanks for the $5. Working tonight, so can't listen live. It's all right, thank you. It's telling Trump scares neo-libs, but not 60,000 preventable deaths from healthcare. Giant Meteor 24, thank you. Bro, Russell, we need more of your Obama. I want more of Russell's Obama. Chris H.
We have a saying in show business: always leave them wanting more.
Leave them wanting more. Yes, indeed. I believe the U.S. would benefit by getting money out of politics, get rid of the Electoral College, and bring in a preferential voting system. The Greens hold the balance of power in the Australian Senate. $20 fine for not voting. Okay.
Yeah, well, apparently that's enough to get the cheap fucks out there voting because it's 80%.
Hey, yeah. I mean, why not?
Vote to pay £20. I'm vote. Where do I sign?
Where do I go? Sparky, thanks to the $2 correction.
I know that's the worst Australian accent ever because I'm married to one still, technically.
There you go. Nimrata Randhawa is GOP Mick AstroTurf token female. That's Nikki Haley's name. Yes, I forgot what it was because it's a long one and a hard one. Will S., thanks to the $5. They preserve what's left of Biden's rotting brain with embalming fluid. Better hope he doesn't bite anyone. Well, he looked like he was going to bite someone at that speech. Snarling.
Remember that.
Remember that. Or we call them suckers. Stephen Hayes.
And losers.
On the Patreon list, it appears no one has selected any variants of douche or menstrual. Can I get an advance lock on one of those under the name Matt Dillon? Who will definitely get the inside joke? You have an inside joke with Matt Dillon. That's interesting.
Okay.
All right.
Ask him if he wants to come on the show.
Yeah. Lozum Aziri, thank you. Great work, boys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Sparky says Biden uses a CPAP. Jill must be making him wear it consistently. Dad's memory came back. When he wore one every time he slept, it can be difficult to get a dementia patient to use a CPAP consistently. I know a friend who uses a CPAP consistently.
I mean, he was on his best behavior for that speech, and you could still see he wasn't sure how to get off that stage.
Right.
It was still at the end.
Yeah.
That's why she comes out. She's not out there to fucking hug him. She's out there to guide him off the stage.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't moving. He got done with the speech. Boom. Yeah. No, just bizarre. Weird, wild stuff, as they say. Weird, wild stuff. Folks, we have 1,690 of you here on YouTube. Over on Rumble, looks like we are at 932, 942. That's beautiful. Thank you. Please hit that like button wherever you are. Please hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Hit that follow button over on Rumble. Let's make sure you stay in touch with us, everybody. We got more super chats, a couple more Rumble rants to read as we go, but let's move right along here to segment number 5. Mehdi Hasan is now out at MSNBC. Following the events of October 7th, he was sidelined for a week. They gave the excuse that they wanted to make room for up-to-the-minute news content as opposed to pre-scheduled anchored programs. And we kind of looked askance at that and like, what? And even if that's true, why is it a coincidence that you're taking off the Muslim anchors? Because it wasn't just Mehdi Hasan, it was Ali Velshi. He was off for a while. Then they put him on that following Sunday. We thought, okay, maybe they're not taking the Muslims off the air, but it kind of seems like they are. They really slow-rolled this. Then a few weeks later, obviously, they took Mehdi Hasan's show away, but said they would keep him as a correspondent. Well, the final Mehdi Hasan show aired earlier this week, and Mehdi announced that with the cancellation of his show would come his departure from the network altogether. So here's Mehdi Hasan bidding farewell to the MSNBC audience.
It's been an absolute blast doing this live show on MSNBC for the past 3 years with an amazing team of producers behind me and with all of you watching at home. It's been a privilege. It's been a pleasure. But as we begin 2024 with an election coming, a war still ongoing, and too many Trump trials, honestly, to even keep track of, and with this show going away, I've decided that it's time for me to look for a new challenge. Tonight is not just my final episode of the Mehdi Hasan Show. It's my last day with MSNBC. Yes, I've decided to leave. To be clear, I am so proud, so proud of what we've achieved on this show, on this network. And I can't thank you all enough for tuning in and for your support and for your feedback. But as I say, new year, new plans. You can continue to follow me online at Mehdi Hasan on Instagram, on Threads, and of course Twitter or X, where I'll give you updates on what's coming next for me. For now, from me, for one last time on this network, good night.
That was tough to watch, man. I don't know what I'm going to do without him.
You know,
we should have done this one last, actually. We should have done this one last because it's going to be hard to.
It's going to be emotional.
Pick ourselves up to get through the rest of this show.
No, you know what? On the video we did for Jimmy's, you do have some people in the comments there who are like, he was a top-notch journalist. How dare you? So, you know, I mean, he had his fans.
Look, he was capable of doing good work. There was a time he did, back when he worked for The Intercept, he did a lot of great reporting and opining on the Israel-Palestine issue. As you can see from his interrogation of Mark Regev, which we played on the Jimmy Dore show and on our show a few weeks ago, we suspect that was the clip that got his show canceled. He has talent. He's capable of doing good work. But even on the way out of MSNBC, he has to say, with all the Trump trials coming up, it's a new year of all these Trump trials that you wouldn't get to cover on MSNBC. That's all they're going to be talking about. He has to keep in good standing with the MSNBC audience because those are the libs who are going to follow him wherever he goes next. A podcast or a YouTube show or wherever. He can't even go out with dignity because he has to keep his audience with him. And the lib audience does not tolerate any kind of conflict. These are very conflict-averse people, right? If he had dignity, he would tell them, fuck you. You're obviously forcing me out because I am a pro-Palestine voice on a neocon, basically never Trump Republican network. MSNBC is barely even a liberal network at this point. It's a never Trump Republican network. They probably would force Joy Reid out if they could, but she's a primetime host. It's hard to force a primetime host out. They have to put up with
particularly
her.
Given what they project. Let's face it, she's an African American woman and the most prominent one in their lineup.
But he's a Muslim.
It's not a good look for them.
He's a Muslim. He's a brown Muslim anchor at a time when the optics of that are not good, which is probably one of the reasons why they had to roll him out of there.
They care more about their Zionists than they care about that.
Of course.
But with Joy Reid, with Joy Reid, they're between a rock and a hard place. You don't have as many advocates for Muslims.
Well, also, if you force Joy Reid out over this, you're exposing the fact that a lot of black Americans rightly side with Palestine. They identify more with Palestine on this issue.
And they don't want any part of that conversation.
But the optics were bad when they fired Mehdi, too, which was why they couldn't really technically fire him. They had to do this cute thing where it was very confusing at first because we were going to cover that they sidelined the Muslim anchors, but we weren't really clear as to what exactly was going on. They did it in this very confusing way. And, he can't just tell them to go fuck themselves because he needs to keep their audience on board for whatever his next gig is. At what point do you, I don't understand, as someone who sits in front of a laptop now and does this from my computer, a guy like Mehdi Hasan, even if he alienates 90% of his audience, he could still set up shop doing what we're doing and make 10 times what we're making tomorrow very easily. At what point do you have enough money to the point where you can just have a little spine and tell these people where to fucking go? They obviously ran you out of town for very cynical reasons. Like, what is with people that they just can't? What is it, because they overextend themselves when they get rich and now they have 3 mortgages to pay and 5 car payments or whatever? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before. There was this woman. It was a delightful memoir. You've never heard of her. Her name is Julia Phillips, and she came up in old Hollywood, oldish Hollywood, 70s Hollywood, 80s Hollywood. Came up as a successful producer from publishing, just kind of fell into it. Didn't set out to be in that business, and probably very much like Henry Hill had an interesting perspective on the mob because he wasn't of it, he wasn't from it. She had a very interesting perspective on Hollywood. I never forgot that because she really painted this picture of, well, these people wind up spending all this money because everyone's looking at your status by what you have, where you live, what car you drive. So you're locked into this position where even to maintain your career, you have to project this impression of success because otherwise you look like a loser. And then you get the loser stink on you, right? So it's a hamster wheel. It's a vicious circle. So Mehdi can't be walking around in no fucking, Gap clothes. He's got to maintain those clothes if he wants to maintain his reputation. He wants to stay at his level of the game. But yeah, it's a trap because you lose your freedom that way. Like now your nut is millions of dollars.
Right.
And there are only so many gigs that pay that kind of money where you can have integrity. Like none. Not in this business.
No,
nobody's paying you millions of dollars to have integrity doing this.
You have to live below your means if you want the ability to tell powerful people to go fuck themselves. I mean, look what's happening to these people who are telling Bill Ackman to go fuck themselves. This guy's going after them one by one, ruining them. Right? Now, that's not the end of the world if you're a millionaire who, lives below his means to the point where you can lose 3/4 of your income and still be comfortable. But I guess you get used to a certain lifestyle to the point where this all becomes very high stakes because, look, he has done some really despicable things. I thought the insinuations, look, as Matt Taibbi said when we interviewed him, all's fair in love and war. It's one thing you get the better of a guy in an interview. You're a hatchet man for the neoliberal, order. And so Matt Taibbi steps out of line and it's your job to embarrass him. Okay, it's one thing to embarrass him. It's another thing to insinuate that he perjured himself. Like that's crossing a fucking line. When you start making up that people are guilty of crimes punishable by years in prison. Matt Taibbi's a husband and father of 3. Like you don't go there. You don't go there. Like he takes it to a level of scumbaggery that is beyond the pale. So again, it's hard for me to sympathize with this guy. But on the other hand, these are your people being slaughtered and you got forced out of the supposed liberal forward-thinking network for advocating for your people. You can't go out with a middle finger in the air?
No.
I don't know. I guess
no,
not.
because he wants. I'm thinking through if he doesn't start his own shop, where he could end up. You never know if he wants to do the integrity route. He could go back to Al Jazeera. That wouldn't shock me if he went back to Al Jazeera. Talk TV is a very obvious place for him.
He'd be an improvement over that one lady,
he fits
Julia, whatever
like
her
a
name
glove.
is, Hartley.
No, yeah, I mean he would be the overtly pro-Palestine Piers Morgan over there.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
He would. I'll be surprised if he sets up his own shop. He doesn't seem like the type.
That's true. He's always been a career. Yeah, he's always worked the system, right?
Yeah, he'll land someplace. He'll be fine. He's not going to make that MSNBC money. He'll never see that money again. But he'll be fine. He'll be living a lot better than us.
Indeed. DC, thanks for the $2. DNC cultists at church be like, see Kyle? See Kyle. Yes. I see what you did there.
I am so jealous that you are going to go get to talk to Marianne voters. I am so jealous that you might actually be in a room to ask her a question.
I might be. That is possible.
Motherfucker, you had better ask her about all those staffers.
Yeah, if I am in there, I will ask. I mean, there are going to be town halls, so I'm thinking I'll get to ask, like, a question and then a follow-up, because I'm thinking that'll be the format. Because their rallies aren't going to be big enough. Like, all these, except for Trump, who fills the arena, everybody's doing town halls where you're allowed to come and talk to them and mix it up with them and ask a follow. Like, I'm not going to have to do a Jose where I get up and yell. Like, it's going to be a question answer thing. So it should be good. Like, I'm looking forward to it. I
don't really feel like you've made it until you break your getting dragged out of one of these events, Cherry.
Right. Mohsin Rao, most of these people will not be amongst the living. in 4 years. I don't know what that
Which
meant.
people are we talking about?
I'm not sure.
Do you know something we don't?
Russ, how much to sing Boys from County Hill?
A lot more than that.
Yeah. Cool Blue 71.
Usually they pay me not to sing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. In 2020, Obama called Pete and Amy just before South Carolina primary and instructed them to drop out and endorse.
It wasn't that Texas that he did that with?
Was that?
Wasn't it the Monday
Obama
Night
called
Massacre? Wasn't that going into Texas?
Well, that was going into Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday.
So Texas was one of the states.
And Texas
was
the
where they had the
big
big rally.
Yes.
That's where they had the big rally for Biden with Beto and Amy Klobuchar and stuff like that. Yep.
You know the thing.
Right, exactly.
That was that speech.
Yasim Miller, thank you for the $5 super sticker. Appreciate that very much. Sparky, thanks for the $10. I was wrong when I said that Trump was relatively moderate on Israel-Palestine, and you were right. What I should have said was, since October 7th, Trump hasn't weighed in as loud or as much as others. Well, no, because he's not as invested in it in the way that like an establishment goon like Nikki Haley is,
Right.
But his attitude towards it is, yes, what you would expect. Christos Sarakahagas, hey, Russell and Keaton. Russ, please start the Jim Jam show with the headbanging on the next show. That's for this only. We don't have access to that technology over there, but thank you.
We don't have soundboard. We don't have any of that over there.
Good thought, though. Good thought. Susan Jacobson, thanks for the $20. I love your show. Thank you for doing it. There are no candidates I have seen that I would want to vote for. The world has gone crazy. Well, thank you, Susan. Appreciate that donation.
Right there with
you. You are right, indeed.
Some people sent me. I'm getting more and more into being willing to consider the idea that there have been hidden hands behind a lot of things I always took as natural social evolution. Because of my arts article, I've heard this from people that the CIA encouraged the abstract artists that Jackson Pollock was working with them. So somebody sent me something. I don't have an opinion. I'm going to look at it.
All right. $1 Million Trooper, thanks for the $1. Behind the scenes, Joe is working so quietly that he and BB keep getting interrupted by all of the deafening crickets. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for that. Blank State, around 10K uncounted ballots discovered in Dallas after Super Tuesday 2020. Wondered how many weren't discovered. Also, don't forget that AZ took a week to count ballots in the general ODD. Well, yeah, I mean, look, in Iowa, the app broke? I mean, look,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
and Buttigieg was connected to the company.
To the making of the app, yeah, exactly. And Janice, thanks for the $1. Dems are as dangerous as Zionists. They have absolutely no principles and stand for nothing. They just parrot their favorite politicians, even if they say exact opposite of what they said last week. Thank you, Janice.
Look, man, I'm gonna give you a ray of hope. One of the most Dem lib people I saw over the holidays said the system's not broken. It's working exactly as designed. So some people are waking up.
Yeah, there you go. Shina Billy, thank you for the $2. How long have you Jews known about this? The tunnels.
Ixnay on the tunnels now.
Yeah, no, we can't say that shit here. I mean, now you're really fucking with us. No, I mean, in all honesty, I didn't know about the tunnels. I just found out about that.
They're going to take away our Jew gold if we.
They're going to take them away. Yeah. Oh, so the other big story of the day that we're going to do tomorrow on Jimmy's show is the Godfather baptism by Elon Musk of all the lefty anti-Zionist Twitter handles.
Which now, I mean, it's a developing story. Now he's claiming that he's looking into how that happened.
Well, he gave what's his name? He gave Ken Klippenstein his account back, but there are a bunch who have not gotten their accounts back yet. Yeah. So we will see. Russell, very good of you to start the door show quite promptly yesterday. Jimmy won't start until 5,000 or 6,000 are waiting, which takes forever. Well, we had about 5,000 or 6,000, I think, at the time that we started, at the time that we got going. But thank you, Tara Brate. My man Keaton is in the trenches, and Russ is over there looking like Glenn Frey in Smugglers Blues. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. Okay. We're gonna do the B part of this segment right now, and then Russell, looks like we're gonna have to move segment 6 to Thursday, which is fine because we need stuff for Thursday anyway. Because I got a text from Amanda. We got some show left though. Don't worry, folks. As we know, Mehdi Hasan was let go by MSNBC. He resigned. He left, I guess, of his own volition, but seems like he was kind of nudged out the door. So let's hear from someone who had a very similar experience to Mehdi. This is Mark Lamont Hill, who once worked for CNN. And he says in this video clip that he was sort of nudged out the door in very similar fashion. So rather than speculate as to how Mehdi was let go, let's hear from someone who might know a little bit better about how this kind of thing works.
Network does is, so what the network does is they fire you. They fire you slowly. They take away your show. They take away your attention. I worked at CNN, and the moment I said that I was voting green and that I supported the Green Party, I was cut out of all election coverage, as if I no longer had a political analysis. Only when black people got killed did I start coming on. And then when I talk about Palestine, I got erased completely. I just kept getting the check every month. But they know that at some point, if you're doing it for the right reason, you're not going to want to just take a check. So what they did was they created the conditions where Mehdi can leave, but it doesn't look like he got fired, because the optics of firing, Mehdi Hasan in the middle of a war in Gaza would be awful.
So they can't fire a guy like Mehdi Hasan in the middle of a war. That would be awful. So what did they have to do? They had to slow roll him out. They had to play this months-long game with their viewers and with Mehdi himself. And so they don't just kick you out. They have to walk you out slowly. I didn't know that Mark Lamont Hill spoke fondly of the Green Party. I knew he said the thing you're not allowed to say, the from the river to the sea. I knew that that's why he was ultimately let go, but I didn't know they took him off election night coverage because he said he was voting green. First of all, I never took him to be as radical as to vote green. I never really knew that about him. But that's interesting. So a very similar thing happened to him as what happened to Mehdi. First, they sidelined him. Okay, well, you're going to, be a backbencher now. We're going to call you when we need you. And then sooner or later, you're gone.
At the rate that he's going, they're really going to have to unperson him. Like pretty soon, he's going to become an anti-vax secret Nazi or something. Like
they're going to have to just deplatform.
They're going to have to go after him because that's a real problem when you have an extremely charismatic, interesting black man who knows the system from the inside, indicting it like this for a pretty broad audience, for a lot of eyeballs. That is very problematic for him. That's why they haven't really given him the treatment yet, because they're afraid they're gonna get blowback if they do. But they can't have this. They can't have this. He's really becoming a very interesting, formidable figure.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared for a while after he got kicked off of CNN. I mean, he was out there from time to time. He actually did a pretty good interview on Michael Moore's podcast, of all people, in like 2020. But he hasn't really been around that much recently. I mean, in years past. But now recently, obviously, he has the YouTube show going. He's actually a far more interesting person than I knew him to be, because when you're on CNN, all of that gets filtered out. Like you're only allowed to be so interesting on CNN. Like I never knew that. I don't know if he's spoken about that before, but I never knew that he advocated for the Green Party, and so they took him off the election coverage, and they only brought him on to talk about race issues. He said, I would only come on TV when a black person got killed. They just used me as a token once I became too interesting for them. Right. Yeah.
Well, it's like actors. If you know like a talented actor and they really go pro, they're going to be destroyed as actors, because all of the agents, all of the business people, they're going to try to figure out how to sell them so they want them to become a type that they can very easily package and explain when they send them out. Okay, you're the best friend. You're the best friend. You're an ingenue, right? So you have these very interesting, quirky actors who then you see them a few years later and they're a type. They just suck all the interest out of them. That's what these networks do. Like, I'm sure there are more dimensions to a lot of these people, but they are packaged to be very digestible and very obvious and to be a type, to be something just like in a movie. They're casting these people because it's not journalism. It's not news. It's infotainment. So, okay, you're the person we're going to call to talk about black shooting, to express black rage. Go.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you can look to CNN. You can look to a network like MSNBC. Phil Donahue got too interesting. Gone. Ed Schultz said, I'm covering the Bernie Sanders rally because he's announcing that he's running for president. Phil Griffin said, no, you're not. He said, yes, I am. He covered it. 3 weeks later, gone. Out.
And when you look at Ed Schultz, you could see what they were trying to do. They wanted to cast him as this bearish, man's man, old school union guy, but they wanted it fake.
Right.
They didn't want it real.
Version. The Scranton Joe, blue collar, no bullshit, working class, salt of the earth guy. But then when he expressed politics that were, marginally to the left of that, no, out.
Yep.
Gone.
Yep.
Schultz didn't endorse Bernie Sanders. He was covering the event. He was covering the event. I think this is newsworthy. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Okay, gone. Bye.
No, you can see why they wanted him, because they can hide behind someone like that.
Right.
Look at that salt of the earth union guy, right? And
we don't have a token beer drinker on the show. We don't have a token Miller Lite drinker.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what he was supposed to do. He stepped a little bit out of line. Gone. It was never a good fit anyway.
Yep. Indeed. Back from the road. Thank you for the $4.99. Appreciate it. What will I do without Mehdi's guidance in this confusing world? You're gonna have to turn to us. You're stuck with us now, folks. We're gonna have to pick up where he left off. Thank you, Sparky. Appreciate you. Unlike most politicians who are paid to be pro-Israel, Trump is actually pro-Israel. If elected, he'll stop them in Gaza. He knows if they don't, his beautiful Israel will dissolve into the region. I don't think he would restrain Israel at all. I think it's going to be moot by the time he is sworn in.
Yeah,
if he
it's
is
not
sworn
even going to be because it's either going to be that Gaza's been wiped out, or we're already going to be in World War III by then,
or the people will be totally moved out.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Gaza wiped out. But it could be a wider regional war by that time.
It could be indeed. Yes, certainly possible. Dan Richmond, thanks for the $4.99. Jack and Jill went up the hill, both with $1.25. Mehdi Hasan came down with $2.50. There you go. Good one, Dan. Thank you. Let's see. We got Ann Janice said you boob censored one of your YouTube super chats that became a Rumble rants. Interesting. Yeah, like I said, we don't censor chats. Only the YouTube gods censor chats. Jake, you said something's very loud. Is that the video was very loud? That's probably the video was too loud. Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you. I'll fix it in post, as they say. Fix it in post. McDougal, thanks for the $5. Mehdi has been a fake news enforcer for the Dem establishment long before he found his voice on Gaza. Also, sorry, Keaton, Sundays are tough for me. Oh, well, you're going to have to find then. So call into one of our patron shows, because those aren't on Sundays. All right? But yeah, I definitely want to talk to you. So McDougal, it sounds like you are with us on this Israel-Gaza issue, which is good to see. Some from the MAGA delegation representing that point of view.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Cool Blue says,
I mean, if I had to guess, Trump is out of step with his base on that.
I would say that's probably true. Yeah. I mean, when you looked at the opinion poll, I mean, Democrats were more likely to support a ceasefire than Republicans, but I'm pretty sure it was majority support for ceasefire amongst every cohort. Cool Blue, thanks for the $4.99. Julia Phillips, was one of the producer winners for Oscar's 1973 Best Picture, The Sting. She was also nominated for 1976's Taxi Driver.
Yeah, no, she had a very storied career. And that memoir, it was called You'll Never Have Lunch in This Town Again, if anyone's interested. It was really insightful. I think I learned more about inside Hollywood from that than anything else I've ever read or seen.
Oh, hey, by the way, speaking of support for a ceasefire, because, we all cite that poll, 66% of Americans support a ceasefire. That was done like 3 weeks into the war. Notice there hasn't really been a follow-up poll to that.
No.
I think once they found out that a majority of Americans wanted a ceasefire, they figured, let's stop asking this question.
We better not ask that question.
Because the longer the genocide goes on, the higher that number is going to be. We don't want
next
another
time
round
it'll be
of bad press.
77%.
Exactly. We only got one poll on it.
That's not good in a moment when we're trying to cast the election as a fight between democracy and autocracy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Zach Boyle says it's rude to flick people off with your mouth full. I get you. Thank you. It's a funny one. Don't forget that coin flips decide Iowa elections. Yes. That was the problem with the Bernie campaign. They didn't invest enough money in their coin flip game, because, you have all these million volunteers. They sign up, they knock doors, they make phone calls. They never taught them how to flip the coins the right way. The people, they knew how to flip a coin. The Hillary people, they knew how to flip a coin.
Yeah, well, you gotta train for that. It's a lot of, you gotta do the whole Rocky montage.
Right.
I'm flipping. You're not flipping hard enough, Bernie.
No. Yeah, exactly. Andres Torres, thank you for the $4.99. I was just at Museum of Modern Art in Mexico City, and they had an infographic that talked about CIA link. Interesting.
Listen, man, I've heard it from enough people I respect that I'm willing to look into it. I have always assessed cultural evolution as a combination of forces, but I've never seen it as directed by the deep state or hidden hands. I've always seen that as overly conspiratorial, but I'm starting to wonder because of where a lot of this has gone.
Fair enough. All right, folks, we got one more segment on the night, and then we got some more super chats to read. We will get to everything. This is a story that we haven't heard a lot about dissenters within Israel. And now, to be fair, that's partly because there are not many. Even though Netanyahu is not a popular figure, obviously there is broad support for their military operations there, which are horrid, obviously. But we thought it's important to highlight some of the Refuseniks in Israel. So this is from Al Jazeera. Who are the Israeli Refuseniks picking jail over the Gaza war? When Tel Aviv teen Tal Mitnick refused to enlist in the Israeli army, he was put on trial. On Tuesday, he was taken to military prison to serve a 30-day sentence. This article is a couple weeks old, so they're not talking about this Tuesday. Standing alone in a country on a determined war footing is an agonizing decision. But speaking at Tal Hashamer, a base near the Gaza fence in central Israel, Mitnick staunchly defended his decision. So here he is, having been taken in, serving some time for not going and fighting. Here is Tal Mitnick.
מתייצב היום בבסיס תל השומר ומסרב להתגייס. אני מאמין שטבח לא יכול לפתור טבח. ההתקפה הנפשעת בעזה לא תפתור את הטבח הנוראי שהחמאס עשה. אלימות לא תפתור אלימות, ולכן אני מסרב.
Okay. Back to the article here. The statement appeared on the X account of Meservat, a support network connecting Refuseniks in a campaign against the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories. In an earlier interview posted on the account, Mitnick laid out his universalist stance on the conflict. The solution, he said, would not come from corrupt politicians in Israel or from Hamas. Quote, it will come from us, the sons and daughters of the two nations, he said. Friends came out in support of Mitnick, holding placards with phrases like, you cannot build heaven with blood, an eye for an eye, and we all go blind, and there is no military solution. Military service is mandatory for most Jewish Israelis, viewed as a rite of passage. In the country's highly militarized society, so-called Refuseniks risk being labeled traitors. Are Refuseniks common? This was written in quite BuzzFeed type fashion here for Al Jazeera, yes. But are they common? No. Generally speaking, Refuseniks may end up serving repeated prison services, ordered to return to recruitment centers again and again. Some wind up doing months behind bars before they are eventually discharged. The Israeli military does have a conscientious objectors committee, but exemptions are usually only granted on religious grounds. The ultra-Orthodox Haredi Jews, for instance, are legally exempt. Refusing to serve as a matter of political principle is not considered a valid objection, which is weird considering this is the only democracy in the Middle East. That's odd. I wouldn't have thought that. Earlier this year...
It's a beacon of freedom.
A beacon of freedom, exactly, which is why this is very surprising. Earlier this year, Amnesty International released a report on Yuval Dog, a 20-year-old who had made his political objections clear before his summons. The army classified his refusal as disobedience and sentenced him to 20 days at Neve Tzedek military prison in Tel Aviv. The rights group named 4 other individuals. I'm not going to attempt those names. Should I attempt those names, Russell? Or do you want to attempt those names?
I mean, we are kind of a comedy show.
All right, fine. We're kind of all right. Einat Gerlitz, Nave Shabtai Levin, Ivatar Moshe Rubin. That sounds like sandwich number 9 up at up on the Katz's board.
They used to have that at the Carnegie.
Yeah, they used to have that at Carnegie. The Ivatar Moshe Rubin and Shahar Schwartz, who were repeatedly detained in 2022. Conscientious objectors commonly serve 5 months or more in prison, a high price to pay for young people doing what they believe to be right. Many objectors come to their decision after participating in protest movements, whether on LGBTQ rights, climate change, or Israel's occupation, violence, and discrimination against Palestinians, a system that many rights groups have compared with apartheid. Once again, only democracy in the Middle East. Yeah. Wow. Hang on. Wasn't there dissent in Army ranks this year? Yes, but it was not linked to the occupation. In early March, about 700 reservist soldiers, including some top brass, resigned en masse during widespread protests over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's judicial overhaul. Critics accused him of curtailing Supreme Court powers to shield himself from corruption charges. Explaining his refusal to serve in the army, Dog said that reservists had resigned because they were afraid of living in a dictatorship. But he pointed out we need to remember that in the occupied territories, there has never been democracy, and that the anti-democratic institution that rules there is the army. Yeah, that's an astute observation, that you are being forced into the army in a supposed democratic nation, threatened with minimum, sounds like 5 months of jail time if you don't serve. And the purpose of serving in this army is to protect your enlightened, Western informed way of life from an imprisoned population that doesn't function, that is not really allowed to function as you are. Yeah, he seemed to recognize the irony there. Responding to rebellion in the ranks, Netanyahu said, "There's no room for refusals. Military service was," he said, "the first and most important foundation of our existence in our land. The refusals threaten the foundation of our existence." You see, they play the same card against their own people.
They give away the game.
Yeah, they play the same card against their own people when they step out of line as they do against people like us on this side of the pond when we do. Did you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're giving it away. This is a militaristic apartheid society that can only survive with extreme militarism. Now, of course, they would answer, this is because of the enemies all around them. Okay, what the old lady that you make walk miles who should be able to just cross the street in the West Bank that we saw in the CNN report? Are these the people that you need to mobilize this for? It reminds me of, actually, because I went to Greece, I was studying a lot of Greek history. And, you know, people see the 300 and they think the Spartans were these very heroic people. You know why the Spartans were so militarized? Why they had such a martial culture? Because their entire culture was built on a serf class that they horrifically oppressed and stole from, basically forced them to work in order to support the Spartans. And if you're going to treat people like that, well, you better be fucking armed, right? Like, because they were greatly outnumbered by the helots, as they were called, that they were doing this to. So they had to really be able to fight. That's Israel, right? I mean, why do you need to be this militarized? Because you're horrifically abusing the people around you. And if you let down your guard for a second, you're right. They're going to come kill you.
Yeah.
You've given them every reason to feel that way. Anybody would.
Yeah, and this is not, I mean, this is, I guess, part of what Joe Biden means. We are formed as, we are the only nation, meaning us here in the U.S., formed on an idea. See, when the rubber hits the road, Netanyahu doesn't try to play that shit. He's like, no, we have to defend ourselves every second. We exist. The foundation of Israel is redemption through violence. I wasn't going to say revenge through violence, but redemption through violence.
Sure.
Right? That is part of the ethos of the country. If they were formed on their idea would be redemption through the use of force. Right? Yes. We'll read on a little bit more. So what does the law say about conscientious objectors in Israel? The right to conscientious objection to military service is protected by international law, enshrined in Article 18 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The UN Commission for Human Rights has stated that states must, quote, refrain from subjecting conscientious objectors to imprisonment and to repeated punishment for failure to perform military service. However, it is common practice in Israel not only to imprison objectors, but to repeat sentences several times. In 2003, the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention said that international law banned double jeopardy, meaning charging someone again and again and again for the same offense. Selective objection is not an option. In 2002, the Israeli High Court of Justice ruled that allowing soldiers not to serve in the occupied territories would, quote, loosen the links that hold us together as a people. Once again, right? Unity through strength, identity through conquest. The case has been brought by a group called Courage to Refuse, who said their duties would involve dominating, expelling, starving, and humiliating an entire people. So here is some more graphics from the Twitter page of this Mesarvat organization, Refusing, Resisting, and Growing. Who are we? A diverse network of young activists who refuse to serve in the IDF. Our network is the home for Israeli conscientious objectors. We support each other through the difficult refusal process. This support includes legal assistance, guidance from past Refuseniks, media training, and fostering a space for young anti-occupation activists to work together. So they have a little mutual aid network so they can help each other out through the process of refusing service, because that includes jail time. Obviously. What have we been doing since the war started? We've been protesting against the war in joint Israeli-Palestinian demonstrations across the country. We've designed and spread pieces of political text and art calling for an end to the war and for a just, peaceful solution. We wrote and sent a joint open letter to the UN with the Young Communist League and Youth Against Dictatorship, voicing the demands of youth anti-apartheid activists on the ground in Israel, Palestine. So thought it was worth giving that a shout out here on the show. Russell found that piece. Just like we think Jewish Voices for Peace is important to highlight here, where they exist, it's good to highlight voices of dissent within Israel, because you certainly will not hear any of that on mainstream media.
Yeah, and in a society that militarized and that propagandized, that's a mark of Cain for the rest of your life. that affects your employment opportunities. That's going to affect your educational opportunities. I don't even know how you live in Israel if you've refused to join the military, because the vast majority of the population, even if they consider themselves liberal, whatever that means in an apartheid state, would frown upon you not doing your duty, not serving. I would be very curious to know what their beliefs generally are about how to resolve this. Do they tend to support a one-state solution? And you have to my mind, unless you're willing to give up on the idea of Israel as a Jewish state, which cannot be sustained without apartheid, then it's what Elon Pape said. There are no liberal Israelis.
Right.
A liberal Israeli is an Israeli who just thinks you shouldn't be killing so many Palestinians. So I'd be very curious. Is it that, or do you actually believe in the right of return? Do you actually believe in a one-state solution that would not be a Jewish state? Because anything other than that, I think you're still supporting the Zionist project. You just have qualms about how it's maintained.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there was that quote toward the beginning of that slideshow there, where they talked about how this is going to be settled by the sons and daughters of the two nations. Now, the question is, do they remain sons and daughters of the two nations, or do they unite to form a nation where everybody lives with equal rights? Right? I mean, that's a question that I'd be very curious to hear some sort of answer from. I mean, they say they're anti-occupation, but
it sounds to me like they're talking two-state solution. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah.
It sounds like what they want is West Bank and Gaza to be a nation.
Right. Exactly. That's what it sounds like to me as well. But at least they're not willing to participate in mass murder. I mean, that's something. That's more
credit
than we
where
hear
credit
from.
is due. Sure.
Yeah. And like you said, given the difficulty of life in Israel, if you are a dissenter in that way, I mean, that's why they have this mutual aid network set up for legal fees, media training, because, I mean, that has to make your life a million times harder. There's no question about that. No question about that. I mean, you're putting young kids in jail for 5 months on repeat sentences, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
5 months. You can do that standing on your head.
Yeah. Again, in violation of international law, right? I mean, they cited that there.
Israel wipes its ass with international law.
It doesn't matter.
It has since the beginning, and if you call them out on it, they scream Holocaust.
Yep. Indeed. David Santucci, thanks for the $10. Not sure about abstract art, but the CIA did create something called the Congress of Cultural Freedom.
That is something that's been brought up to me too.
That started up a bunch of fake left journals and stuff. Maybe they did that too.
I think that's part of that. You know, who's a good person to ask about that? Our friend Tusker.
There you go. Yeah, she might know. Soccer Papa, thanks for the $9.99. Mehdi is still under the mindset, pardon me, of Log Kya Bolai Gay. What will people say? To start his own show like you all. For him, it's a downgrade. His mind is unfortunately still fighting colonization. Well, yeah, was it to get the MSNBC job? Didn't he write, or was that to get a job somewhere else?
No. I know exactly what you're thinking.
He wrote this ridiculous...
He was trying to get a job at the Daily Mail.
That's right, at the Daily Mail. And what the fuck was that thing about? It was like
he because he felt being a pro-life voice would add some nuance because he's a Muslim. That that he could represent these conservative points of view from a Muslim
perspective, not from a white Christian perspective. Right. Yeah. He's always angling for a job, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam, thanks for the $1.99. Appreciate that. The Pollock thing, true. Google CIA backed Pollock. That's interesting.
Somebody sent me, it looks like a good video that's like a documentary taken from a book on this subject. I'm gonna take a look at it.
That sounds fun. Yeah. Sparky, thanks for the $5. The late Ed Schultz was an All-American quarterback in Division II. Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, he had the build for it.
Yeah, indeed. Most MAGA Republicans want a ceasefire in Gaza and are anti-war in general. Other Republicans, not so much.
That's what I would think. It seems like this is a case where Trump can get away with it because he's Trump, and his base will let him get away with it. But it doesn't seem like something most of the MAGA people would be into.
Well, I'm obviously going to try to go to a Trump rally when I'm in New Hampshire. I'm not going to go into the Trump rally because there's video of that anyway. And to go into a Trump rally is kind of an all-day affair. You got to line up hours in advance, and then it takes forever to get out, and the parking, and the blah, blah, blah. But I'll go, like, as the crowd's filing in to get interviews on the way in, you know, because I would love to ask them about that, for sure. For sure. Especially in a state like New Hampshire, which is kind of this unorthodox
That
state.
will be very
with
interesting to get
anti-establishment
answers on.
politics, yeah.
Just bring the hat.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There's a book about the Congress of Cultural Freedom, The Cultural Cold War by Francis Stoner Saunders. Haven't read it, but it's on my list. Maybe check it out, Russ.
Thank you.
Maybe Jimmy has it. See if he's got it hanging around there somewhere.
Possible.
Sparky, thanks for the $5. Trump may be out of sync with his base on COVID-19, vax, and Israel-Palestine. You know,
I mean, it's hard for him to disown a vax that his policies developed.
Yeah, that it's his. And I mean, look, like I said, I would love to find out for myself because polling does suggest that, you know, considerable percentage of Republicans support ceasefire, and it's certainly going to be the Trump base more so than like the Haley base, right? So, you know, I don't doubt you on that. The real question is like how important it is to them, number one. And number two, like, are they of the variety who feel like, well, it's just none of our business, so we should be staying out of it. We shouldn't be funding it. That's like the Tucker Carlson, Sagar and Jetty point of view. Or are they like actively concerned for the loss of life there? Like, that's a question. And I'm not saying I know the answer either way. That's a question I'm definitely asking in the parking lot of the, you know, MAGA arena when I go there. Derek P, thanks for the $5. Israeli soldier saw how the sausage was made and said, "I'm out." Wow. Yeah. P Walker, thanks for the $2. Ray Epps was given
a lot of people were
probation.
correcting me on that. I don't think he actually is serving any time.
Wow.
I think he just got like a suspended sentence.
Wow. So it was 6 months and then a suspended
Yeah, but I don't
sentence?
think he actually went inside. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Holy shit. Yeah. Well, maybe we should cover that on the Jimmy Show sometime this week.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea.
No, I'm following up on my ongoing attempt to crash Boeing, not literally.
Yeah, well, they have that covered well enough, it seems.
They don't need my help with that. I'm just trying to do the rest.
J.A. Savage, thanks for the $4.99. This story about the NYC synagogue tunnels seems like a hit job on Hasidic Jews, the anti-Zionist Jews currently protesting the Hamas war. Thoughts? We'll have to look into it more. I honestly,
Listen,
have not
this
looked
story
into it enough.
is fucking weird.
It is weird.
I know because I decided somebody made a special request for me to do a tour of Hasidic Brooklyn, and the subject was interesting enough that I wanted to do the research, so I agreed to do it. So I know a fair amount about that community, like the room in that video. I've been there. It's a place where all these rabbinical students debate all day. The whole room echoes with people debating Talmud and philosophy. So it's such a weird story, though. I just don't understand it. What was the tunnel for to get to the bath? What did you need a tunnel to get to the bath property that was owned by the synagogue? Like, I can't figure out what the fuck this was about. And then the elders of the synagogue are saying that it was like a group of young radicals doing it secretly. What is this? Escape from Alcatraz over there at the fucking Chabad Center? Like what? Like they were gradually tunneling with a spoon and dropping off the the concrete dust outside on the lawn. Like, what was going on here? It's a weird story, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, who the hell knows? We'll have to look into that more for tomorrow. That'll be our research in prep for the Jimmy Dore show tomorrow. Because, yeah, that is wild stuff there. But the video that Russ cut together is pretty funny, and so we'll be bringing that to you either on the Jimmy Show or here on ours. Caleb Maupin talked about the Congress of Cultural Freedom. He exposed how CIA made the fake left, explaining why so many leftists were pro-Ukraine war. I mean, that's a theory.
I am starting to come around to the idea that there's something extra there that you just can't account for by the ebb and flow of cultural forces. It just, so particularly in our own time, there are just too many ideas that are too bizarre for me to believe that there's nobody pushing them with purpose.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense to me as well. It really does. Sparky, thanks for the $2. You think they're actually concerned? I hope so, my friend. And like I said, I don't disbelieve that. So, folks, we just want to give a little program note before we sign off. So on Thursday, the 11th, we're going to be on in the daytime, but it won't be 9 a.m. It'll be 2 p.m. Eastern on Thursday afternoon. So that'll be an afternoon matinee show, a late morning show out there on the West Coast. What's it like doing early shows now? Because, like now what? Russell, it's only 8:30 over there. The night is young.
Well, I'm going to go work on keynotes now because that's what I should have been doing. Right. But like the maniac I am, I said, wouldn't it be really funny to intercut this with this? And that's how I wound up spending my time. Right. I won't give away more than that. But
yeah, we don't want to give away more than that.
I wound up doing a thing today for the Jewish story.
There you go. It came out good. I'm looking forward to it. Please try to interview Aaron Efrati. Thanks. Thank you, Soccer Papa. Appreciate that very much. All right. We got another segment here that we've been sitting on, which we will definitely get to on Thursday. That's a fun one. It's a fun daytime segment too. Kind of has that morning show quality to it. So
I've got a couple of animal stories. I'm hoping to get at least one of them in.
Beautiful. And we'll be joined by Savage Joy Marie Mann on Thursday. She's making another trip to East Palestine, Ohio for the 1-year anniversary of the train derailment there. So we'll be having her on to talk about what she's got going on there. And we will have more segments for you guys, obviously, on Thursday as well. It is a very busy week for us. Thank you, Sam. George Orwell also ratted out commies to the British IRD. Thank you, Sam. It's a crazy busy week for us, but thank you guys for staying up with us tonight. Please hit that like button on the way out. Please hit that subscribe button on the way out. Big round of applause for Jake, our producer. Once again, we want you guys to go to our Twitter account, do Dissidents on Twitter, and visit the pinned tweet right at the top of our profile and send that email to the International Court of Justice to let them know what the right decision is. Give them a piece of your mind, as is your right to do. So please hit that up. Just go to our profile. It's pinned at the very top. Like I said, they wrote some text you can copy and paste if you want, or if you want to put it in your own words, right? You want to do a Bill Ackman job, you can put it in your own words. You can paraphrase, you can cut, copy, paste, and cite.
Well, now it's not a big deal anymore, right?
Right. It's not a big deal. Everybody does
last week it was a big deal. This week
it was a big deal until his wife got caught doing it. Yeah. That's how that works. Folks, thank you guys very much for being here. Laura, thanks for hitting us up with a generous donation on the way out. Appreciate that. We will see you guys all tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Not on this channel, but on the Jimmy Dore Show. And then we will be back here on this channel Thursday, January 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern. I know the schedule is a little confusing this week. It will be next week as well because Russ is hosting the Jimmy Show next week as well. That's why it's really important that you join our Substack, because you'll get newsletter emails every day saying, hey, when we're going to go live. So join that Substack. If you can join as a paid member, it helps tremendously. If you can't, join for free. You get the newsletter so you always know hours in advance when and where we will be going live. And you can support the show once again, patreon.com/do dissidents. our Substack at dudissidents.substack.com, or check out our locals. If you're over there on Rumble, you can hit that join button right underneath the screen and support us that way. All your support is what keeps us going. So we thank you all very much for supporting us. Thank you all very much for being here tonight. We will see you tomorrow on the Jimmy Dore Show, live 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, back here Thursday afternoon. Thanks once again for this evening, everybody. Until we see you again, be safe and be well.
Courage. That one sucked.
That one sucked.
Give me another one.
All right, one more.
That was better.
Better. All right, folks. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
Please clap.